Okay, just to start off, my name is Darren Mitchell. I'm the Director of Managed Services at Itelligence, and I'm just going to kind of step through the S4 environment in HANA. I'm just going to build this all out. This is just the differences between, since HANA's been released, the S4 environment's been released, and going from 1503 all the way up to 1809. And all this is showing you is that as SAP has gone down the road, a lot more processes are in place now, so it's getting to the point where it's much more mature, and things are looking where people are really looking to move on to this because it has a lot of the functions that people are looking for. So this is from Gartner when they came out, and 2015 is when they came out with S4 HANA. They say by 2020, 35% of ERP clients are going to be running on S4 HANA. Now that's all clients, right? So that's net new and existing customers. So it's just not migration piece. And then starting in 2020, 80% of customers are going to be considered do the lift and shift methodology. So moving to S4 HANA. So another thing that they've talked about is, if you wait long enough, you're going to have a 2025 resource crunch. It's going to occur eventually down the road. And then, there's S4 stability and capability that I went through the process. It's actually getting to that maturity standpoint. There's also a whole bunch of automation tools that are being developed around this piece. And also the fact that if you wait too much longer, you're going to be making investments in other third-party applications or other processes in your environment that you're going to have to reinvest in when you get to the S4 environment. So just talking back on the S4 conversion piece, so Itelligence has done a lot of this transformation workshops and worked with a lot of different executives across the piece. So we've helped out with this preparation now piece where you're looking to see what you need to do and where you need to go to, whether you're looking to go to it now or you're going to go to it in the future.
Here, it works. It works. I fixed it.
Okay. So we've helped out with that preparation now piece. The complexity has really come down in the S4 migration piece because people are doing more and more, have gone through the process. So there's a lot more tools out there and processing pieces out there to help out with that. And the business case is still the case that needs to be made out there of what you need to do in the future and where you need to go to. So this is just the background of those conversion pieces. We'll dive into a little bit deeper. So if you look through the conversion piece and how you need to jump to S4 HANA, there's multiple pieces and way to go. You can either migrate to an SAP HANA environment right now with the Business Suite. You can do the conversion process, which is the most scariest for most people because you're taking your current system and you're converting it over. And there's some functional changes that have to occur with that piece. So it's just not a straight technical migration. There's some pieces that have to occur during that process. And then we find a lot of people are actually looking to do a greenfield implementation out there. They're actually taking their environment and they're actually just going to start brand new with S4 HANA and deploy that out there. And then we've also seen people do it with their functional phases. So they may start out with finances, they might start out with sales and distribution, but they roll it out in phases to get that part. And so they keep their current environment and then they just move pieces at a time to it. And then the other part is the system consolidation. If you have multiple ECC systems in the background, you migrate them together and create one S4 system, maybe for your financial environment. So this is the different technical migration conversion pieces that we were talking about. So you can do the SAP upgrade to a different environment to get onto HANA, do the database migration and move it to the HANA environment. You can do the SAP DMO option to get to Business Suite on HANA, and then do the Salmon conversion. So it's a two-step process between here and then moving over to the S4 environment. And you're running a slower process on this piece, but it's a little bit more safe from some people's perspective. Our SAP has moved on to the one-step migration and conversion piece, where you go straight from ERP6 system straight into an S4 system. And this is what we've done a lot of those out in the world. So one of the other pieces that we want to talk about that they don't get talked about a lot is how do you set up the high availability and DR scenarios within the HANA database. So within HANA, to be able to have a high availability HANA database, they've built in some different technologies already into it. So they built in the synchronous connections, or you can use a storage replication. These are the two recommendations from SAP to do your high availability within your database. And then you also have your remote database or your disaster recovery piece where you're doing storage replication and asynchronous replication. So the difference between synchronous and asynchronous is synchronous has to be done before it gets committed to the second database. It doesn't get committed to the first one. So it has to be committed to both before it gets fully committed. The asynchronous, it'll get committed here, and then it'll migrate down here when it has time to catch up to it. So this is why this is considered the DR perspective. So this is how the HANA database, and this is how everyone looks at that piece of it. What they don't take into account is how do you handle the application on top of that, and that's the piece that most people miss. They talk about the HANA database. HANA's got that built into it. They developed that out very well. It was a very good way of setting that up. But no one talks about how do you ensure that the application is going to be high availability. And this is how you set up a system where you have basically the central system for SAP, and then you have an in-queue replication system to the side that gets stayed up within one cluster piece. And then you do the same thing with the application servers, the primary and additional application servers. So this is how you would actually set up a high availability system. And so what drives all these decisions, it depends on with your virtualization and everything else that's going on, is what is your recovery point objective? What is your recovery time objective? What's your system availability need to look like? Does it need to be up 24/7, 99.999? And then what are the costs associated with those pieces? So those are the different spots that get associated with the HA and the DR perspectives. So just to pull out, this is what SUSE has come up with their high availability and DR solutions. So what they've set up is they set up this pacemaker between their ACS and their ERS systems that's using the same disk space that communicates. And the same thing with their HANA database and their application servers. So the key point of this is everything that SUSE has developed around this has all been developed within SAP as well. So they've co-developed this with SAP, so it's integrated in. So all the tools from SUSE is integrated into the SAP application layer as well. So your instance resource agent is tied in with the pieces that SUSE has or with the SAP pieces, and the same thing over here with your high availability extension is tied into the scripts that SAP has developed. So it's a tight integration. It's something that people need to look at when they're doing their high availability and DR solutions. So another option that we like to look at is where should you host this S4 environment. So there's some cases for why you want to maybe put it on premise, and there's some cases where maybe you want to put it in some type of a cloud solution, whether that's a private cloud or a public cloud. So the biggest difference are that in a cloud environment, all the things that are included, they're already handled by someone else. So whether it's the data center infrastructure, whether it's the facilities, whether it's the power, whether it's the security, whether it's the hardware, software, and maintenance pieces that are included, the central data center services. But the biggest piece that I think from an S4 perspective is this SAP HANA designed environments. So whether it's a private managed cloud or if it's a public managed cloud, they have developed those and put those expenses into those environments. And HANA is not, as everyone's aware, the hardware is not the cheapest to set those up with. So if you can go to something that's designed for that environment, you're going to become a lot more efficient with how you use pieces of it. So the difference between, like I said, the on-premise is you have all these different CapEx and OpEx that occur across, and within a cloud environment, it's all included in their pieces, and they're making the investment into the hardware. So as the hardware gets changed out and moves, they're keeping redefining that hardware, and you don't have to worry about those pieces of developing that and keeping up with the technology, because SAP has changed that, and they've changed the rules on what needs and what doesn't need to be done, and so that the cloud provider gets to work on those pieces. So just looking at our Itelligence data center, so we actually, when we develop our Cincinnati data center, is we actually designed it around the HANA environment. We opened that data center probably a year and a half before HANA came out. And as soon as the HANA environment came out, we went ahead and designed our clusters and our setup of VM farms associated with the HANA pieces. We were one of the first TDI, which is Tailored Data Center Integrators, using virtualization in the globe. So we have a set defined just on the HANA environment there. We provide flat-based fees. We have transparent data center services. Basically, you can come and see those data centers, do a tour of those data centers, and reach out to those. You're going to have a name contacts for those data center services as well. And then we have a full control base from the data center all the way through the whole application piece to control that from one service for provider. And then we obviously can do individual infrastructure design as well above and beyond that, however you need fit to do that. And our systems are powered by SUSE as well. When you go to like the other cloud providers, they have some really good advantages as well. So you pay for what you use, but in an SAP environment, you're going to use it most of the time, right? I mean, you're not going to be down, but there are options for that when you're doing a training environment, or if you're doing a POC, or if you're doing a migration, that you may want to look at something to that effect. You can do a combination of SAP and public cloud services. They have flexible contract periods. If you just need something for a short amount of time, you can do that as well. And obviously their data center locations are spread throughout the world. So just going back through this piece of it, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but if you look at SUSE and where their leads at, 70% of SAP is running on SUSE, and 95% of the HANA environments are running on SUSE as well. So they are definitely by far the leader in that environment. So if you're looking at what you need to do, I would look at that, see when patches come out, see when they become available, and I think you're going to find they're going to become available on SUSE before they become available on other providers. And we're the global leader in S4 migrations in the globally. So just talking about our S4 HANA conversion process. So it's actually up to like 36 or 38 active in S4 one-step conversions. So if you go back to that one slide where we're doing the DMO and the conversion all at one time, we lead the globe in that. So we have an established conversion factory that just all they do is migrations. So we have our own tools, our own journey that we're doing. Obviously, it's a fixed bid process that we're doing. Most timelines are less than 6 months to do a conversion, do the migration and the conversion piece. And we can do that either on your premise, we can do that in our cloud, or we can do that on a public cloud as well. And then we also have these are just our IPs that we use to enable those conversion pieces to come out. So this just goes back to our expertise on our HANA environment, where how many different HANA customers we have, how many different live clients we have on S4, and then our different options that we've put through. So you can see we were the HANA Partner of the Year back in 2017, and you can see our journey that we've started out from. Like I said, we started out with the first native HANA piece back in 2012, right after our data center was built. And we've progressed all the way through the piece of it. So just talking about our conversion factory a little bit, we have 200 plus employees. We work across multiple different industries. You can see manufacturing is our largest industry that looks to be moving forward at a quicker pace than some of the other ones are. We've done this many database sizes throughout the environments. Most of our database sizes are less than around a 500 gig mark. But we've done most of our conversions to S4. We have done some also to Suite on HANA as well, because some people want to take that two-step approach to it. And then this is just the downtime that is required for some of those. Most of those fit well within a weekend process to do that, even if we have to move it to a different data center. So just to let you know that it's not dependent on it being on-premise or already moving in advance, so that those moves can all happen within that piece. So that's all I had. Is there any questions out there?
Is that the end?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Good job, Darren. Thank you. Let's give him a big hand. Thank you for coming to our booth and taking your time and doing that for us.